Have you guys ever prepared a game for you and your friends and you thought, okay, this is going to be a ton of fun. I've got several encounters. It's going to take us at least 3 or 4 hours to get through everything. It's going to be really hard. And then they just absolutely crush everything that you had prepared for them. That's what we're talking about today in Call for Aid. Hope you guys are ready. Let's get started. Welcome, adventurers. What's going on, guys? My name is Cody. This is Taking20, a channel about all things role-playing games. Today, we have a question on Call for Aid from Ross. Hi, Cody. I'm DMing a Pathfinder game for a few friends. Even though I've been playing Pathfinder for almost 5 years now, I believe I still have a huge amount to learn. This is not the first time I've been a DM before, but it is the most thought-out campaign I've done so far. I recently had a session where players enjoyed it, but I feel that it wasn't as engaging or challenging. My buddy Tim showed me your videos, and I've been watching them one after another. I'm now confident that I can provide a more engaging and developed game for everyone. So here is the main problem I'm having. In a recent session, I had 3 fights set up, and they plowed through them like it was nothing. This is what frustrated me the most, because if it's not challenging, it is not fun. So how can I make my encounters more difficult with the party? Also, thank you so much for your advice and wisdom. Your channel is first and the only one that makes me, okay. A lot of flattery there, Ross. I appreciate that. Very kind of you. Okay, Ross, so I've got a few different things that I want to talk about here about this particular problem. First off, you're not the only one to have this problem. Everybody has had this problem happen to them before, so don't think like you have a whole bunch more to learn and that you aren't a great DM. It happens to everybody. It just does. Sometimes it's the way the dice roll, or sometimes it's just the way that the encounter is set up to play into one of your player's strengths. So bottom line is don't stress about that. It does happen. Okay, so the next bit of advice I have for you is a bit conflicting. Because on one hand, if your players are having fun, then I would tell you as a dungeon master or a game master not to stress. One of the hardest things to do as a DM is to make sure that a session is fun. That's ultimately the goal, right? Story progression, loot, experience. As long as everybody's having fun, that's really the most important thing, okay? It's not creating the next Lord of the Rings with you and your buddies. If everybody's having a good time, you've won. But on the other hand, I will tell you that it's okay for you as a dungeon master or a game master to say that it is more fun for you to create a bit more conflict and to create a challenge and to even roll dice on a board and battle it out with your players in a little bit of a battle of wits. So it's okay for you to admit that, hey, everybody else had fun, but I'm not having fun because it was just so easy and that put a little bit of stress on me. So if you are feeling that way, that's okay as well. I know it's conflicting advice, but I want to give you both sides of the coin because you may feel one way or the other when you hear both pieces of advice. Now, let's talk about fixing this problem because I've got some ideas here for you that I have used and implemented, and I think it will help. The first thing is understanding the problem. And if I'm a betting man, I'm going to bet that your biggest problem, I know nothing about your fights, is that you probably didn't have enough action economy. This is one of the easiest traps to fall into as a dungeon master or a game master is when you look at CR ratings and challenge ratings on these big, incredible, powerful dragons and other amazing monsters, and you think, okay, that's supposed to be a challenge. My players are level 6, this is a CR 8, no problem. I'll put them up against this one CR 8 guy. And that is a trap a lot of times because your players have amazing abilities. And especially if you're getting into the mid game or even late game, it's really, really difficult with some of the stuff that they can do. I know you said you were playing Pathfinder, but this is a universal problem across any game, whether you're playing Dungeons & Dragons 5e, Starfinder, Pathfinder, Star Wars, whatever. You've always got to make sure that the eyeball test, is what I like to call it, that your action economy is strong enough to compete with all of the things your players are going to be doing. What you don't want to happen is you have a big bad guy that moves up and he hits the barbarian really hard, and then he waits while 4 more people go until he can hit the barbarian really hard again. that is at its core a massive action economy problem, even if your guy dropped your barbarian in one hit. He goes up, he hits the barbarian drops. Next turn, the cleric heals the barbarian stands up and attacks him back, the fighter attacks him back, and then the wizard stuns him. This is a major problem that you can run into if your action economy isn't passing the eyeball test. So, to solve this problem, my suggestion is to make sure that you have some minions. Make sure that don't use a CR8 if you want to challenge your level 6 guys. Use 2 level 6 challenge rating monsters that will equal a CR8. Use 3 CR5s that will equal an 8. Even though you're using weaker monsters, by using more and more and more, that will create some problems for your players in combat as far as keeping up or outpacing completely your high challenge rating encounter with their action economy. So my suggestion, use smaller guys, use more guys. Don't group them up for your wizard. Okay, that's a little trick to make things a little bit tougher on your players. Don't put them in fireball range really easy if you're going to use a whole bunch of small guys. But make sure you have minions. You know, if she's a hag, give her an ogre. If she's a hag, give her a black pudding and an ogre and a troll and a little orc. And they're all they trickle into the combat together. That will throw a wrench and make your fights much, much more evenly matched, which will present your players with a lot more of a challenge. It's also fun for them, as a little pro tip, to kill a whole bunch of little things. Especially if you have the big barbarian that walks up and always kills the big bad evil guy. That way maybe the wizard kills one, and then the rogue goes up and backstabs another one, and everybody can get a little bit of a sense of accomplishment in combat. So use more enemies. The next tip I have for you is to evaluate what your party's strength is and attack it. Now I know that this is dirty pool. Okay, this is dirty pool. I put a video out last week on traps being cheating, but this is dirty pool for a dungeon master, and it's okay to do this type of dirty pool. Your players metagame. Your players build characters that are strong. If your players have built characters that are so strong that it's tough for you to challenge them, then find out what their strength is and attack right at it. That means that if you have a barbarian that is dealing the most damage, attack that barbarian, take him out of combat, make him tougher, make it more difficult on him. If the party is relying on the same strategy of, okay, we go up, we teleport the barbarian over, blah, 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 or the barbarian runs up and starts smashing face, put difficult terrain in there. Put pillars that the barbarian has to climb. Put things to slow that strength down. Instead of going right after the weakness and saying, okay, well, it's really easy to drop the cleric, don't do that. Attack right at the strength. Give them a challenge that they can't use their strengths in as easily. And that is a fun way, I think, to let some of the other people shine, especially if there's a one strategy or a one-trick pony group kind of going, and to give them a bit more of a challenge. Also, I want to note, do not stun them when you do this, okay? You can weaken them, but don't stun them. That is a DM trap. Nobody enjoys not playing. So don't think, okay, I'm going to challenge him more and I'm going to just petrify the barbarian. Don't do that. Give the barbarian negative levels. Weaken his strength. Give him ability drain. Make it tougher on him. But don't stun him or just take him out of the fight. It's just not as much fun. And finally, my last little tip, please be very, very careful about this, but you can rob them. So if your players are overly confident and they have this incredible loot that they've gained and that they're reliant on, take it from them. Not only is it a fun plot device to propel the story forward, but it's also a good way of bringing them back down to avoid some of the power creep that can happen, especially in a game like Pathfinder, where magic items are really, really abundant there. I'll tell you, Tabletop Terrors, Tim and James had a great video. I think James was in that video. It may have just been Tim. Tim had a fantastic video like about a year ago or so, or 6 months ago, called the Gold Mite. And in essence, it was really simple. It was basically, what if there was a rust monster that looked like a gold coin, that 8 gold coins. And it was genius. Again, be very careful, okay? You make sure you're doing the right things. You're being a good DM, that you're not just screwing them over because you're pissed that they are blowing through your encounters. But this is a very clever trick, something to take away their bag of holding, and now they're encumbered, and they've got to worry about getting all that loot that they've just casually thrown in their bag of holding. Or what if they can't find their bag of holding? Or what if it rips and it loses its magic and it becomes a regular bag and just expands on them one night while they're sleeping by the campfire? So rob them or take away some of their fun abilities and items, and that can present a different challenge. So all of this is a challenge for them for RP until a monster shows up. Until suddenly they hear big, heavy footsteps of a squad of giants walking through the forest, and they're like, what do we do with all of our stuff? That can create some different and more interesting challenges, even if it's not just giving them more life or making more minions. So there you go, Ross. There's a few ideas, but I'm not going to leave you with just what I got to say. I am going to pass this over to the community. I love getting responses on the call for aids from the rest of the community. They are really, I think, what makes these videos so much fun for me. So if you guys in the community have some advice for Ross on what he can do to make his encounters a little bit more challenging for his group, please leave those in the comments down below. If you guys want to submit a question for Call for Aid, you can do that by joining the Taking20 community or by messaging the Taking20 page on Facebook. I don't always reply to everybody. As you can imagine, I get so many questions, and I really feel bad about that, guys. I am sorry that I can't answer everybody's questions, but I get like 10, 15 a day. I would just spend all day answering questions. But I do try to take cool and interesting ones, things that I haven't covered before. So if you do have a question, please send those to me or join the community and ask everybody in the community there. I want to give a special shout out to all the kick-ass patrons who help support the channel. Thank you guys so much for what you do. I really, really appreciate it. And if you want to join that community, links are down in the description below. If this is your first time here and you love role-playing games as much as I do, I'd love to have you subscribe. Every week I'll be putting out new videos on GM tips, player tips, tutorials, and more. So if that sounds like something you might be interested in, just hit that subscribe button down below and come join us. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Cody, and may your games be filled with awesome memories and even better friends. I'll catch you guys next time.
Yeah.